Honey, 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 here we are. You want to get over him. You want to forget him. You are done with thinking about him, ruminating about him, and obsessing about him. Okay, what are we going to do about it? There's only one thing for it, and that is to listen to this video. The first thing I'm going to tell you is it's going to split down the middle. There are two things that you're going to do. Either number one, you want to stop obsessing over him because you have felt that your relationship has gone in a direction whereby you're more invested in him than he is in you, and you want to salvage whatever remnants you have of that relationship, and therefore you have come here and you've clicked on this video thinking, I know what's going to happen. Marguerite is going to help me and tell me what to do in order to stop my brain from obsessing over him. Or you're in camp two, and that is the camp where it's done. He's left you, or you've left him, and you can't go back for reasons like he cheated, and that is against your code of conduct and ethical, relationships, or he no longer wants you. So it's going to break down into two. No matter what, the first part of this video is for the first people where you are so obsessed that you're about to ruin the relationship, but this stuff applies for the second group of people whereby you are so obsessed and you are no longer with him. So what is the point of ruminating? What you need to understand is that if you're obsessed with someone, it is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Often people with anxious attachment, like what you have and like what I had, we start to become obsessed over a person because we are so predicated by the fact that their actions are going to either hurt us or heal us. We want their message, we want their reply, we want their affirmation, we want them to see us in a certain way. Why? Because literally what they do dictates how we feel. Somewhere in your childhood, you woke up to a reality whereby the person who was looking after you, mother, father, somebody, might even be a sibling, their emotional equilibrium changed your whole entire existence. And why did it do that? Because you were reliant on them. You could not just pack up your bags and leave. You had to change yourself in order to make them like you. You either became the golden child who did everything right, and therefore that person that you were reliant on, who wasn't emotionally intuitive with you and emotionally didn't understand you, and might have even been abusive or completely ignored you or just didn't see you, didn't emotionally connect with you, you decided that if you can just make them happy, you be the golden child, you make them react in the way that you need them to react, everything's going to be okay. Or maybe you failed at that. You didn't quite know how to make them like you. You didn't know quite how to make them connect to you. You failed, and not by your own choosing or your lack of trying. It's just that you were a child. And therefore, you started to get anxious. I did this wrong. I did that right. Now mum's upset. Now mum's depressed. Maybe mum was just depressed. Maybe mum was going through a divorce. Maybe something like that was happening. But you attributed it all to yourself. And now you're an adult and you are anxiously attached. You obsess and you ruminate over people because you have learned that your happiness doesn't come from your internal existence and who you are and how you decide to react to the world. Your internal happiness comes from the fact if Jeff, Todd, or Frank are happy with you. Because when they're happy with you, you feel good. And when they're not happy with you, you feel sad. And that, my friend, is the whole idea and identity behind ruminating and being obsessed over somebody. You are obsessed because they're your lifeline. They are your oasis in the desert. They are the reason you feel happy or sad on any given day. And that is why it's a problem. The whole notion of you stopping obsessing over someone isn't about you finding someone else or you deciding that you are worthy or you reading a book that you hadn't read before. It's about understanding that due to your anxious attachment, you have understood that you externalize your relationships. What does that mean? The external forces in the world dictate how you feel. Somebody who's got an internal strength and an internal pillar of strength, I want to say, like, a foundation, like buildings have foundations. Someone who's got that is not going to be blowing around in the wind so much like you are or like I used to be, because they know they've got their own back. You need to start forming a relationship with yourself, a safety with yourself, and a way to lean on your own self in order to stop obsessing about others. Because of course, if you always lean on the validating emotions of other people, he's now happy, I'm happy. He's now angry, I'm distressed because he's angry. He now doesn't want me, I'm not wanted by people, I now feel shit about myself. If it's always going to be like that, of course you're going to be obsessed with them. Why? Because they are the reason you feel any emotion. If you know you've got your own back, and you know that you've mastered the art of detachment, and if you haven't seen my videos on detachment, click on my channel, go to most popular, and you will see those there, because people need to learn detachment and the art of it. The closer you will get to stopping obsessing about people and understanding that obsession and externalizing the act of being so affected by somebody else's mood, somebody else's actions. Women often nag, women often pursue men's actions and why did you do this? Why did you do that? Why did you do this? Because anything he does, he farts or sneezes, it affects your emotion. Why? Because you can't detach. You can't detach out from the outcome. You can't detach from how he sees you. You can't detach from how he feels about you. You're so involved in his feelings. You are just digging in the mud of his feelings. And it might not even be your husband. It might be a guy you just met. You haven't even had a relationship with him and you're obsessed about him. And you know why you're obsessed about him? Because you've made up a reality. Often we are so in rumination and obsession about somebody because we've already given them so much energy. You need to understand, you probably gave this person more energy than they ever gave you. And because of that bias, because you already know you've given so much of your, I don't know, maybe youth, because women, we have a very short amount of time, God damn it, to have children, have our career, do this, look the best we can. We have it so compacted, and we haven't yet gained the understanding and the art that life is longer, my friend. Life is longer for us as women. And we don't just live between 18 and 30, okay? We need to learn the art of maturity as women and the art of wisdom and so much types that we go through, archetypes of the wise woman at the end. That's a really big archetype, okay? We start to obsess because that person gives us validation. We start to ruminate on them. We start to obsess about them because we've got this short time where we've already dedicated 5 years, say from 20 to 25 to him, and we're like, damn it, in the back of our mind, I've dedicated this time to him. I'm not letting him go. Even if we never really had anything serious, even if he never really claimed me as a partner, even if he never even proposed to me, even if it was me chasing him, even if it was me doing everything, doing all the work, I am not giving up on this. Why? Because I've given it my best time, what I see as my best time. But baby, maybe it's not your best time. Maybe there's other times in your life. Maybe your life is going to be long and you don't deserve to live your life with somebody who doesn't see you and doesn't want you back when you're messaging them and all your blue messages are blue, 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 and one word from him. You don't need that. You need to learn to get bored by that. Truly, truly bored by that. Almost repelled by that, because isn't it boring to be with someone who doesn't see the light in you? And I think the reason you see so much light in him and so much value in him is because you see your own value investment. You want a return on your investment. Because if I really said to you, he's not that worthy, and to somebody else, he's not even that hot and not even that cute and not even that cool and not even that smart, that you just think he is because you've invested so much time. And in order to make that valuable and to make your efforts okay, you need to imagine that he's all that and a bag of chips. Because otherwise, you've just spent your whole time obsessing about a loser who doesn't even want you. And that is scary. The way to get through this is to remove them from the pedestal, to remove their idea of them being this valuable, godlike creature. And the reason they're valuable and godlike is because the more attention that you flow to them, the more it lifts them. Where your attention goes, energy flows, and they are literally gloating on a pedestal of your energy being lifted into the heavens above, and you're down there preying upon the deity that they are. Notice when you go to a concert, the performer is there and we're all down there. Wow, wow, that's literally what you're doing to the concert of his life. You need to remove him from the stage and put yourself there. How do we put ourselves on the stage? Number one, you need to stop consuming all the content that he posts, looking at photos of yourself. Stop consuming him. Stop idol worshipping him. Stop worshipping him. He is not God. He's not Beyonce. He is not anything to be admired and clapped as he performs on stage. Take away your attention and you will take away the power that he has. Number 2, you need to start putting the limelight on yourself. Now, it's very easy to say, but it's not easy to do. How do you start to put the limelight on yourself? The first way, and this is the key, is to become obsessed instead. Since you have that part in your personality, you need to redirect the lens of obsession onto yourself. How? It's hard to just start being obsessed with yourself, and I have been waiting to incorporate the sponsor. And don't fast forward, because this is very important. This is actually a key point. Thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. I've been waiting to integrate this partner. It's one of my favorite websites I've ever used. Skillshare is a platform with the largest community of creatives where you have different pathways and different varietal options in order to learn a skill or a whole set of skills. It is literally the perfect website to make you master any skill, any creative skill, any business skill that you want. And the way it's structured is very easy to get obsessed with, because I remember discovering Skillshare when I wanted to learn more about photography and self-photography, not necessarily because I wanted to be a photographer, but because I wanted to create beautiful content. And I watched Sorrel more. She had her own amazing class on there. And since then, I've dived into productivity with Ali Abdaal, and you can go into pathways which you can have an overall skill that you want to learn, or like a path. I don't know, you want to learn Notion, or you want to learn something. You can tell I'm passionate about this, okay? And it can lead you down to, from the beginner to expert in whatever field you want to learn in. And I love that system about it, because you can literally dive in and become so obsessed with an idea. And then this guy that you're obsessed with is not going to have the place that he had in your life before. You know what I'm saying? It's got incredible instructors, like I said, like Ali Abdaal on productivity, and Rebecca Minkoff, and all these incredible people who are masters in their field. I should make a class on Skillshare. That's what I should do next. I should apply and be like, let me make a class for you guys on anxious attachment or something. But it's truly wonderful. And for the first 500 people who use my link below, you can trial them for free for the first month, which means you can try it out and see what you like. You can literally dive in there. It's got a community tab where you can give feedback, reviews, you can read the reviews, you can hop from class to class. It's a really interesting platform. The learning path is probably my favorite feature, because you get to discover new teachers, you get to discover rounded approaches to any idea. So if you want to learn graphic design, or if you want to learn something to get obsessed with, it can teach you every single aspect of it. And I think that is so valuable. For me, at the moment, I was diving into productivity because I've got 2 kids, I've got a podcast, I've got a book coming out, I am writing masterclasses. I'm doing a lot, so I wanted to be productive. I want to learn how to create to-do lists. I want to do all of these things, and I want to learn how to build business. So that for me became an obsession. And let me tell you the truth, if I was obsessing about a guy right now, I would not have time to be obsessing about a guy, because I'm trying to conquer the world, okay? Pinky, what are we going to do today? Try and take over the world? Who knows that reference? Anyway, first 500 people, go in my description box, have your free month trial and see what you can do, because you need to take your brain and engage it in somewhere else. The best place that you can engage your amazing brain with your amazing one life that you have is in bettering yourself, into self-growth, into learning, into growing. And I will tell you something a little bit toxic. Lean in. If you're watching this video and you're like, I don't want to let go of Brad is the one for me, and she's telling me that I need to stop obsessing about him, I don't want to let go, the only way to get Brad back is to become something that Brad is in awe of. And the only way he's going to be in awe of you is if he's the fan and you're the superstar on the pedestal. Now, superstars aren't superstars for nothing. So you need to start bettering yourself in every single way possible. You need to become obsessed with yourself. You need to become a little bit self-obsessed. Because again, where energy flows, attention goes. Last point about the person who might not be giving you enough attention and you're obsessed with them. Understand this one thing. If you are in a healthy-ish relationship and it's you who's ruining it with your anxious attachment and neediness, understand that even if they're a healthy, normal person, you might be ruining the relationship by engulfing them like a big fat whale. You're engulfing them energetically. when you're with somebody who is obsessed with you and they're needy of you, you know the feeling. You feel stifled, okay? You know it. You've had it in the past before. You hate to admit that you are that type of person in this relationship, but you have to admit that if they are a normal person and they liked you in the beginning and now they're kind of leaning back, could it be because you're completely engulfing them? They've got to always tell you what they're doing. They've got to tell you where they're going. They've always got to, do you know what it is? Rescue you emotionally. That's really tough to always feel like you can't be your genuine self, that you've got to rescue someone emotionally. It's really, really bloody difficult. And if you're doing that to someone, it's not healthy. You've got to be honest with yourself. Are you an engulfing beast, or are they just not interested in you? So pull back, let them be authentic. You have to be a safe space for someone authenticity. You have to let somebody be authentic. If it is truly over and they have left you, however, understand a few things. You are upset with the timeline. You've invested your time and attention. Start to understand that perhaps maybe it's not them that you miss. It is the attention that you gave them that you miss. You miss that part of you that you gave away. You miss what you imagined them to be. You miss the dopaminic surge that you had when you imagined your future together. But maybe you never had that future. You need to sit down and write their shit list. Things that they were not great with and not great about, because there's something that happens in a breakup is that we start to remember all the good things, all the good times. That's what the human brain does for some reason. But you need to sit down and be a little bit toxic. Write down all the things, like when he squeezed your hand in public and was like, when you said anything, and when he said those tights you got were ridiculous and they don't suit you, or when you got your hair done and he never said you look good, or when you got that promotion and he was like, really, Elizabeth didn't get it? She's so much better than you. Write down all those things. You really want that for the rest of your life? Because now you've put him on the pedestal and now you miss him. That's the person you want who put you down like that? He made you feel terrible as a woman and you gave him all that time, and now he's not even there for you and he left you and he dumped you? That's the person you want to be with? Look at him realistically. That's not the one. Understand that you miss him because you miss the energy that you gave him. And talking of energy, you gave him your feminine energy, love, and attention. If you really want to get through this, go on www.margaritanazarenko.com. That's my website. I've got 2 masterclasses on there. 20 principles of feminine energy and 20 polarity principles. The polarity one is about to be in a partnership where you don't push that partner away and you thrive together. But I want you to look at the 20 feminine energy principles. Feminine energy will get you through this. It's about flow, knowing yourself, integrating with yourself, carefully listening to who you are. I don't want this to happen to you again. Have a look at those. They're useful. If you don't want to get those or buy those, no problem. They're less than $50, I believe. Go onto my TikTok. There's lots of information over there. You are addicted to the storyline that you had in your mind about this person. That storyline isn't real. It didn't exist. And by focusing on it and trying to get him back, you are going to miss out on that person who's going to truly love you, love your soul for existing and for being, because you are lovable. You are. And there's people who will love you. And by not healing and dealing with this person who was never that good for you, you are stopping that person from coming into your life. Like I said before, stop watching anything with them and content with them. Stop taking up brain capacity with them. They're not as special as you think they are. For the future, and even now, learn to be bored with people who don't want to be with you. Learn to be bored with people who don't reply to you. Learn to be bored with people who ghost you. It's boring. It's not interesting. It's only setting off your response of look at me, please notice me, because you're like that rat who keeps pressing the lever and doesn't know when it's going to get a reward. That's how they get rats to keep pressing a lever in science labs. Sometimes it gets a reward and sometimes it doesn't, and the rat is there into the night pressing the lever. If the treat never comes, the rat stops pressing it. If the treat always comes, the rat isn't obsessed with pressing it. The rat who's obsessed with pressing it is when the treat comes sometimes and when it doesn't come sometimes. And because this person's so inconsistent and shitty, you're there like this, pressing it. Know that they've just set off a reaction in you and your anxious attachment. Be bored. Act secure. Watch my video on anxious attachment and security, and until you learn how to be secure, pretend you are. Fake it. Write down all the ways you didn't like them for, and remember them. And ask yourself this one question after you write that list. Would you want this for your friend or for your mum or for your sister? I don't think you would. I'll see you next time. Love you lots, like Jelly Tots. Bye.